The IDF says it will investigate an Israeli airstrike on Gaza that killed at least 7 aid workers from World Central Kitchen.
A fire during renovations at an Istanbul nightclub has killed 29 people.
Israel says it will open a probe into an Israeli airstrike on Gaza that resulted in the deaths of at least 7 mostly foreign aid workers. The food charity World Central Kitchen said it was delivering food to support Palestinians in Gaza when the vehicle they were driving exploded. An IDF spokesperson said that they respect international law and are committed to examining their operations thoroughly and transparently. The charity was founded by Spanish celebrity chef José Andrés. In Jordan, the Spanish Prime Minister expressed regret at the aid workers' deaths and demanded that the Israeli government clarify the circumstances of the tragedy. According to the food charity, the airstrike killed 3 British citizens, an Australian, a Polish and US-Canada dual citizen and their Palestinian driver. Following the attack, it called a halt to its work delivering food into the area. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu acknowledged that Israeli forces carried out the strike and said officials will do everything for this not to happen again.
Russia may focus its potential late spring or summer offensive against Ukraine in the western part of Donetsk region, says the Institute for the Study of War in its assessment. The think tank says the Russian military command may consider the area near Avdiivka, a key frontline city in Donetsk region captured by Russia in February, as a priority. Ukrainian forces appear to have repelled a Russian battalion-sized mechanized assault near Avdiivka on the 30th of March, the first battalion-sized mechanized assault since Russian forces began the campaign to seize Avdiivka in October 2023. Referring to an unnamed Ukrainian serviceman, the Institute for the Study of War says that Russian forces may have used 36 tanks and 12 infantry fighting vehicles near the village of Tonenke. The scale of this Russian mechanized assault is significant, and the Russian military command's willingness to commit a battalion's worth of tanks to an attack near Avdiivka indicates that this assault was a priority effort in hopes of building upon Russian forces' steady but marginal advances in this sector. Ukrainian officials have recently warned that Russian forces are accumulating personnel along at least 4 axes, but the Institute for the Study of War continues to assess that Russian forces will likely only be able to launch a concerted, large-scale offensive operation in one operational direction at a time due to Russia's own manpower and planning limitations.
Standing up for the people of Ukraine. Government ministers and officials in The Hague are discussing how to bring justice to the victims of Russia's invasion, which began more than 2 years ago. The Council of Europe says there could be as many as 600,000 compensation claims.
We are creating very concrete, systematic tools to compensate the damages caused by this war. Together with many countries and leaders, we cooperate on confiscating Russian assets and profits from them. All this should work for the people whom Putin tried to destroy with this war.
The war has left tens of thousands dead and injured. It has left millions displaced. And it's resulted in a long and well-documented list of international crimes. Over 100,000 and counting. That number not only underscores the gravity of this aggression, but also the need to support Ukraine. Because if we don't, the country's justice system will eventually collapse under the weight of these atrocities.
As a foreign minister, I am perfectly aware that international justice always takes time. But as a Ukrainian, I cannot help but urge you to make every effort possible to serve that justice, in small or big steps, but delivering tangible results every week, every month.
A register of damage was formally opened at the conference.
2 years after the city's liberation from Russian occupation, residents of Bucha in Ukraine are struggling to get their lives back on track. Local authorities say 509 civilians, including 12 children, were killed there in the early days of the invasion of Ukraine. Broken lives and wounds are difficult to heal for survivors. Alexander lost his son, a Ukrainian volunteer soldier killed by Russian troops. Svetoslav was 35 years old.
Не повинні батьки хоронити дітей. Несправедливо.
Natalia lost her husband, also a volunteer soldier. She's fighting for the government to grant him official status as military for financial compensation.
Світ не повинен забувати про те, що в Україні йде війна. Світ не повинен забувати про те, що війна забрала дуже багато людей, воєнних людей, мирних жителів, які віддали своє життя просто так, не їх розстрілювали, тому що вони йшли на вулиці, тому що вони їхали в машинах.
Shock and grief are gripping the people of Finland after a shooting at a school north of the capital Helsinki. One child was shot dead and 2 others were seriously injured when a student allegedly opened fire at the Vietola school complex in Vantaa. Police say all 4 students are 12 years old. Finland's Prime Minister described the incident as upsetting.
On aivan selvää, että aivan liian moni nuori, jopa joka 3, on kokenut jossain vaiheessa mielenterveyden kanssa ongelmia. Meidän täytyy pystyä varhaisemmin puuttumaan näihin asioihin. Mutta me tehdään koko ajan töitä, mutta mitä se tulee tähän tapaukseen, niin se käydään perinpohjaisesti läpi ja johtopäätöksiä sitten sen osalta tehdään tarvittavia myöhemmin.
Police have arrested the suspected shooter. They say the gun used was registered and licensed to a relative. Finland has tightened gun laws in recent years.
A fire during renovations at an Istanbul nightclub has killed 29 people and 1 person is being treated at a hospital. Many of the victims were believed to be involved in the renovation work. 8 people, including managers of the club and 1 person in charge of renovations, were detained for questioning. The Masquerade nightclub, which was closed for renovations, was on the ground and basement floors of a 16-floor residential building in the Besiktas district. Authorities say the cause of the fire is under investigation.
Europeans have mixed opinions of the EU's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. According to an exclusive Ipsos poll carried out for Euronews, only 40% of citizens have a positive opinion, while 32% have neither a positive nor a negative view. Yet, the management of the health crisis has received great support from the public. The poll also revealed differences in opinion on the EU's response to the pandemic among countries. In Portugal, 74% of residents have a positive opinion, followed by Finland with 55%. On the other hand, 28% of Romanians are positive about the EU's actions on COVID-19, compared with 24% in the Czech Republic.
I would say that there were many positives in how the pandemic was treated, and as a consequence, the European Health Union started being formed. The ECDC, so the European Centre for Disease Control, the European Medicines Agency were given stronger position. So the European Health Union started being developed or created based on the reaction to challenge posed by the pandemic.
To meet the health challenge, the European Union has been adapting politically through an unprecedented health mechanism, the joint purchase of vaccines. At the end of June 2020, it launched its common strategy, and by the end of the following year, the EU had signed contracts worth 71 billion euros for the purchase of 4.6 billion doses.
At the high-level event of the Belgian presidency of the Council of the EU, it was made very clear at the ministerial panel that was it not for the joint EU action on vaccines and vaccine procurement, there would be no way to achieve the vaccine equity that was achieved during the pandemic. So health is key, but EU roles in health is also key.
In response to the health crisis, the member states have adopted a multi-annual health program worth over 5 billion euros, covering the period 2021 to 2027.
The US Coast Guard has opened a channel to vessels involved in the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse cleanup effort. The move is part of a phased approach to reopening the main shipping channel leading to the port. It's been a week since a container ship lost power and crashed into a supporting column of the bridge in the US city of Baltimore. Authorities believe 6 people died when the bridge collapsed. 2 bodies have since been recovered. The owner and manager of the ship are taking legal action to limit their liability.
Donald Trump posted a $175 million bond on Monday to stop the courts from seizing $454 million in assets. The former president and real estate mogul put up the money while appealing a civil fraud verdict. A New York court in February found the Republican candidate lied about his wealth. He was ordered to pay $355 million in penalties and now faces criminal charges in 4 other cases. Trump has denied any wrongdoing.